Right. Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast. Good evening then, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone podcast, your home of all things Bolton Wanderers. We are back once again with another episode 114, sponsored by, of course, Eco1 Windows, your sponsors of the Fanzone podcast for this season. If you want to find out any more about our sponsors, then head over to www.thefanzonepod.co.uk and you can find out all you need to know. But we're back. Derby Day disappointment again. The wait continues. Bolton Wanderers 0, Wigan Athletic 2. It has happened again. And here we find ourselves on the back of another disappointing local defeat. How many more can we take before somebody says enough is enough? Or somebody with any decision-making power says enough is enough? The comments are already rolling in. Thank you all for joining us. Channel members, Laura, Brandon, Ian and Pete. A good evening to you, absolute legends, and of course, a good evening to you all joining us as well. I'm not sure what's going on here. Co-host must have had a drink before they came on this evening. Only thing to get them through the weekend. But there you have it. Let's crack on. And as always, those of you watching at home, thank you for choosing to spend your Sunday evening with us whilst Chris shows you all of the wonderful decor in his home office. Without further ado, we'll kick straight in to our...
You don't love your cry.
Post-match reactions, shall we? So, those of you...
You can't see me tree, Jim. It's downstairs.
You don't want to see Chris's bush. Right. Get your comments in the chat. We'll pull some up, of course, as we go through, as we try our best to form a conversation longer than maybe 2 or 3 words about yesterday's performance. Colin, you're probably the best person to start on that front. What did you make of it all yesterday?
You know what, right? I'm actually going to give Wigan some credit here.
Fair enough.
Because the crap. Let's be honest.
That's a bit of a contradictory statement. Yeah.
But they came with the game plan. They executed the game plan.
Everybody, welcome
very,
back.
very, very well.
With the stat man.
And the stat man's on in the background. I'm not sure why. So I apologise about that on behalf of Ben.
It's all gone to.
It's all gone to pot. But you have to give them credit because they're a poor side in terms of personnel. They did a number on us. They executed the game plan very well. The press was great. They realised it were weak from the wide areas. Got in behind a couple of times. They deserve some credit, but only some credit because it was contributed massively by another complete inept performance by Ian Everett's side. Ian Everett's signings, and it's getting beyond a joke, to be honest. I can't continue to come on here and just say ever out without any constructive criticism. You obviously all know my feelings and what my feelings have been ever since that Huddersfield game. And I'll repeat it again, he came on BBC Radio and said that he doesn't know what to do, and that should have been the sign where the hierarchy got rid and they didn't. And now we are in the same situation a few months later, almost to the day, and getting beat again with another woeful performance. It's getting a bit beyond the joke now, to be honest. And I don't really know what else to say, apart from give them a little bit of credit and just grill our side. I mean, people were harping on about playing Ossie Tutu from the start. He was awful. Dion, awful. Might as well not have been on pitch. Vic. Baxter at fault for the goal, you might say. Poor goalkeeping. Got beat far too easy. You can go on and on and on and on. Johnson, he's been awful for weeks. Terrible. Positional player all over the place. Distribution, terrible. Playing on the edge, but with no edge. Like, honestly, I could go on all day, and it's not just here for me to speak, is it? Obviously, these lads have got a soundboard, and everybody in the chat has as well, which I'd encourage you to all carry on with what you're doing, and we'll obviously discuss it. But yeah, it's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, it was bad, really, really bad. There is no sugarcoating it. And for me, I think the largest part of my frustration came after the game, listening to Evening Hugh. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday evening. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on board this evening.
Boring though, Hugh.
We are all delighted.
Should not get boring beating us because we absolutely die.
But yeah, I think my frustration came after the game, listening to the post-match interviews. Now, I'm going to be honest, a lot of the time when fans have called him out for stuff, I've understood it from his point of view. However, yesterday's post-match presser and his comments to the media absolutely blew my head off. I thought the language used and the lack of understanding of why fans are on their backs was astounding. And to be able to be sit in that, hot seat and go, well, I've won 50% of my games so far, and I've took this club from where it was to where it is, I thought was absolutely mind-boggling.
The biggest thing with that one, Ben, sorry, just to pick you up on that, you're absolutely right. But for me, the biggest thing for that was he goes on about the heritage of the football club and what it is and what it stands for, and then talks about a 50% win ratio in the bottom two tiers of English football. It's like, does he understand where we've been for the vast majority of our existence? Not in these two divisions. So it's hardly an achievement, is it, when he's got the budget and the facilities that he's got at his disposal to then throw that in our face and start going against some of the top quality managers that we've had in position over the last however many years.
Yeah, what I was going to round off on was that for me, it's like it doesn't wash anymore. You got away with that for a little while, and I would imagine if this was a conversation in the boardroom and those were the things that he was saying, you cannot, as a manager of a football club, harp on about everything you've done before if things aren't going very well now. That's not how the world works. Yes, you've got credit in the bank. You've got a promotion. You've got a trophy at Wembley that some people see as an achievement. Some people don't. However it is, we went there and we did it. But that counts for nothing when you're 8th in League One, closer to the bottom 4 than you are the top 2. That was my frustration, even more
in
so
December as well. May I add, in December.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking, October or whatever. We're talking December. It's fucking ridiculous. Excuse my French.
Yeah. So that was my frustration, and obviously most of the viewers will know I have erred on the side of positivity for a little while. A little bit less, I think, than you, Ben. But I have been leaning that way for a little bit longer than most. Where's your head at now, though, after Saturday? What did you make of the game? Where I don't even run out of questions.
The same as you, really. I mean, to me, that was, even though the scoreline was bad, that was the worst of the lot of the Wigan defeats, because the first time they were a team that went on to win the league, and you go, fair enough, that was our first year in League One. Obviously, it's still not acceptable, but they battered a few other teams out that season. Last season, they started off really well. There's still some big name players in like Charlie White, Callum Lang, James McLean, whatever. But this season, they're rubbish. And I actually think they outplayed us more than they did in the other two games. I feel like the other two games it was a story of we missed loads of chances and they basically had 4 or 5 chances and scored them. Yesterday, they had 6 or 7 good chances. We went into half-time 1-0 down, And I was thinking, I don't know how this isn't 2 or 3-0, really. Whereas last season, we went in 3-0 down thinking, I don't know how this is 3-0. It probably should be 1-0 at most. So yesterday was the worst performance of the lot. And even came out second half. Look, we looked all right for 10 minutes after half time. Maybe should have scored with Sabby, but like it should have been outside by then. And they made it 2-0. And after that, we basically didn't. I mean, Collins had that half chance and that was it. And 12 shots, 7 on target for them. I think it was 6 and 1 on target for us, was it? Yeah. I've always held on to I said it on Twitter before, replying to Jim. I've always held on to the belief under Everett over the past 4 or 5 years. Even when we lost big games, we've been competitive and we've had chances. And say Derby last year, we missed chances, or Pompey last year, we missed from 5 yards out to go 1-0 up. And you could look back and go, God, if that goes our way, then maybe things go differently. But that's 4 big games this season now: Wigan, Huddersfield, Birmingham, and Stockport, where you could replay that game 100 times with the chances and the performances, and I don't think we win many of them.
And it's not even just the big games, is it? Shrewsbury,
exactly,
Exeter, Charlton.
Exactly, and then you add in and look, and it's all well and good. You can get by losing the big games and beating everyone else and go up. You can do that statistically, but that doesn't wash when you go to Cambridge and draw 1-1 and lose at home to Exeter and draw at home to Shrewsbury and lose away at Charlton. And you have to be perfect in the other 36 games to get away with it. So look, I've held on to the belief that with the good run we've been on points wise over the past, since Huddersfield, that would.
And for the audio listeners, Ben did actually use inverted commas with his fingers.
I mean, it has been a good run points wise. Performances haven't been amazing, and it has papered over the cracks, as people say. But I had the hope that the points return will breed some confidence, and it would. Going into this, I always had in the back of my mind this run of 4 games here, the Wigan at home, which shouldn't be a tough game, but it always is for us. And then obviously Wickham away, Barnsley at home, and Lincoln at home, the 3 really pretty tough games. I always thought, see where we are at the end of them, and hopefully the points return we've had gives us a bit of confidence, and we actually start getting into the groove again. And yeah, it's just gone all again. It's just all gone again, hasn't it? If we'd have won yesterday,
it's not okay. Listen, I don't want to jump on this. I hate to say I told you so thing, but I hate to say I told you so. A few weeks ago, when that Huddersfield game materialised, it was inevitable that we were going to do this. Go on a little run, drop off. Go on a little run, drop off.
Because I think it's easy to say that after the point, but I know you did say that. I know you did say that.
I predicted it before it happened, so it wasn't okay. It's not a hindsight thing.
I mean, it half is. I know what you mean. You did say it at the time. Fair enough. You called it, but
it's evident.
It wouldn't have been a surprise if the run of points would have bred confidence, and obviously it happened. It hasn't happened. So fair enough. You're right, but it could have done. Basically, I don't think I was wrong at the time to still back him after Huddersfield, even though I don't think either opinion was right or wrong to back him or to say it was time to go. I think there was merit on both sides really, but now I think I'm bored of it. To be honest, I'm bored of the conversation. I'm bored of the constant. Because we could go to Wickham, get a point maybe, and then beat Lincoln and Barnsley, and then it's like we're waiting for the next big game to come along, and then if that doesn't go our way, we're back in the same position. So it's even if we get someone in now and they don't really rescue the season that much, we finish sort of in the playoffs and see how it happens. I think it's the atmosphere is just boring, really.
Yeah, and speaking of atmosphere, one of the comments that we've had in was BWFC 714. Don't think there's much that Everett can do now that would get the majority of fans back on his side. We're past the point of no return now, and that is a very dangerous position to be in. Obviously, I can't speak probably as well as you can on this, Chris. But
we've been in that position for a good few weeks now, though, Ben. Past the point of no return.
I don't think so. I think yesterday, if we'd have won,
We have.
That's the point of no return for you, but I think
there's
speaking
still been
more
people
wholly,
who've said I
Well,
could
me and Ben.
maybe if he gets the result against Wigan, a win, namely, then there's maybe a view to take on it. Blah blah blah. There's been a bit of grey, hasn't there? And now it's just it's completely tips it over the edge. I think that's the point. You still have that middle ground. We've always said don't use Twitter as a benchmark for the consensus and what everybody thinks. It's not the case. However, now you'll go around the ground and you'll speak to people. I mean, where I sit, I speak to people of a really broad range of ages and blah, 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 blah. And there's nobody any different. You know, you've got your varying kind of levels of interest from supporters, age groups, tenure as supporters, whatever it might be. And it's the same. It's the same with everybody. I've not spoken to anybody, and that doesn't mean to say it confirms it, but it's a really broad sample set of people. Everybody's saying he's got to go. He's just got to go. He's got to go. He's got to go. There's nobody saying maybe. There's nothing.
Yeah, I think yesterday was of all the people in the middle ground. I think there was a lot. There was a lot of people in the middle ground. Yesterday was the point where if we win, they're back on side. If we don't, it's yet another loss to, Wigan. And another loss at home, another bad performance, and it's just it's not going to happen, is it?
Colin mentioned it. Ben, you spoke about it even more. Timbo, Evert's post-match press conference, and for anybody who knows me, I'm probably still starstruck from when we had him on the pod. I'm a big advocate and a big supporter of what Geff does. He's not the greatest player by any stretch. Let's not make any sort of rash kind of judgments on him that he's our saviour or anything like that. He's not a great footballer, is he? However, he's made a difference at times, but I thought his post-match press conference was even worse. I saw people actually questioning whether he was reading off a teleprompter or a bit of paper. And I think what prompted them, pardon the pun, to do that was the regurgitating of this. We need to take a long, hard look at ourselves. We don't turn up in these big games. We don't do the. It's like, how many more times are we going to hear it?
Yeah. I didn't even listen to Geff yesterday.
It's insulting our intelligence now. It really is. It's becoming an insult to our intelligence that that we are going to do this. We're going to change this. That wasn't us. Well, it is, and it's been like that Well, it's nearly 12 months now. It's since the turn of the year that the drop off has become so obvious. It's just awful. And it's George Thomason, George Johnston saying it, Gethin Jones, whoever's wheeled out in front of the media. It's the same rhetoric each and every time. We'll go back on the training ground and we'll do. Oh, it's like, for.
I mean, I don't really know
what. It's like, come on.
I don't really know what they can say, to be fair, with these type of results that we keep getting.
I don't want them to say anything, Colin. I want them to do something about it, and I don't want them to come back when they've not done something about it and say the same thing again. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's that's the insulting part of it.
Yeah.
And just to pick up on at BWFC714 said, is the fact Everett seems bewildered as to why he's been questioned and doubted is concerning. It is because, look, I've been one of the most staunch Everett defenders in the past 12 months or whatever. But even, look, I've acknowledged that obviously we've not been up to the standard, and I've not denied that we've not been good enough. My whole point has been that we turned it around, but he doesn't seem to know that our standards over the past, this season haven't been good enough. He kind of refers to the points return or whatever, but doesn't kind of
Do you think it's a bit strange though, Ben? Because like after that Huddersfield game, I know we keep going on about that Huddersfield game, but that was a cut off for me, as you all know.
Yeah.
He came on BBC Radio and said that he doesn't know what to do with his squad. He doesn't know. He said he doesn't know what to do. So he's acknowledging it on one part. Then when many weeks have passed and many results have been as bad as that Huddersfield game, i.e. Stockport, i.e. the Wigan game, he then sees his arse when Jack Dearden asks him a question that alludes to that.
Twice he's done that now.
It's like
to be honest,
when
he said that I don't know what I'm doing about the squad thing. I think that's been taken a little bit out of context. From what I remember, I think it was, what are we going to do about the mentality issue? And it was straight after the game, and he sort of just went, I don't know how it's going to fix it. We'll see over international break. I think that was how it was. I think that's where it came from in his mind. I don't think he's flat out said, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, get me out of it, basically. I know what you mean. It is concerning, but I don't think it was a straight...
There's huge levels of inconsistencies in what he says and how he reacts to things.
No, yeah. I agree.
In the spirit of cheering things up a little bit, Hugh, thank you very much for your lovely Christmas donation to the podcast. For the audio listeners, Hugh has donated £2. For those of you who don't know, Hugh is our resident Wigan Athletic fan. We've got the resident stat man, and we've somehow landed ourselves a resident Wigan fan. So thanks for the donation. He said £1 for each goal to pay the termination fee. So thanks very much for that. And if any Wanderers fans fancy following suit to cheer us up, then feel free, because it would feel much better not coming from a Wigan fan. But thanks for the pity, Hugh.
They do deserve some credit for yesterday, you know.
Yeah,
they really
do. They raised their game. I mean, one of the things that Everett did say in his press match was that, you know, it doesn't matter what position in the league they're in, Wigan always save their best football for us, which does certainly seem to be the case. However, I do also think we do them a favour by saving our absolute worst for them. But there you have it.
Just kill up with a little ball, don't they? It's pathetic.
Oh, it's
honestly, I was laughing yesterday, mate. I swear.
It's different players. You know what I mean? Obviously, season on season, we make new signings, but it's the same outcome, and they do the same things. So, what does that tell you? It's not necessarily the players. It's the manager. For me, anyway, I just can't see any other explanation for it, because they are different players. I mean, how many players did we play yesterday that played in the same fixture last season?
Well, I was thinking about this today, actually, and I'm still in two minds about it. And what brought it to my head was I put in the group chat yesterday that Danham Lundalu has got 4 goals and 2 assists this season in 14 games, which I think is more goal contributions than Aaron Collins has in 4 less games.
Yeah, I saw that start. Yeah.
Which absolutely blew my head off. Now, the quality of goals, I'm sure, will be very different, and there'll be a stark contrast in probably output in different areas. However, then you look at Aaron Morley, who's enjoying his football out at Wycombe, Max Conway even, who's having an absolute whale of a time out at Crewe. And you look at the amount of players that have either moved on from us or gone elsewhere and are now enjoying their football and seemingly having an absolute world of a time. And then you look at players that we brought in, Aaron Collins, who had an okay season last season, and this season has fallen off the face of the earth. McAtee, who had a really successful spell at Barnsley, came here and has not really lived up to the standards. And I was thinking, what is it? What's the crack? Is it that they're coming here and losing that and having it coached out of them? Or is it something else? Because then I thought about George Thomason, obviously, refusing or turning down, I should say, the option to go and play at Bristol City to stay with us. And I just could not get my head around it, whether there is an issue with player management and that sort of things, or whether it's just a bit of a weird spook that Danham Lundalu's finally found his feet.
I think it's a combination of the manager, the fact that they're weak mentally, and there's no leaders. There's no leaders in that team, in that dressing room. There's nobody. We've got a 22-year-old as a captain of this football club, and in fairness to him, he took it on his shoulder and he's running with it and he's doing a good job.
Yeah,
but he's not He's not a leader, is he? He's not a man, is he?
No,
We're weak
to mold him
from,
into a leader, but he's not.
no,
Yeah,
we're weak
he will
from
be,
the
eventually.
centre. The spine of the team is weak.
Yeah.
That's your issue. I've said it for months about us not having a solid defensive midfielder, somebody who can break up play, do the dirty work, lead by example. You know,
this whole stat. I'm not going to go into stats because it's a conversation from 6 months ago, isn't it? About possession and XG and all that palaver. But what these percentages are telling me is the thing that we lack the most is bravery, because it's all well and good and it's easy keeping the ball and retaining possession if you don't do anything with it, if you don't risk something, if you don't, do something outside of your comfort zone, because we don't. And like I think Cole mentioned it earlier, as soon as the opposition have worked today, that's it. It's not about plan B. It's about individuals improvising and doing something that they've not been told to do.
The problem is, though, with the players that we've got have done this in the past for the different clubs. You know what I mean? Aaron Collins pinging efforts in from 25 yards for Bristol Rovers. McAtee last season for Barnsley, trying stuff different, scoring however many goals for Barnsley in a poor side. You know, it's only one person you can point out.
Lee, thank you very much. Lee has sent in a £2 donation. Thank you very much for that. He said 50p Pep out now. Change is needed. Speaking of change, I feel like we should move on from this segment. We've been somehow live for 27 minutes, and as you all will know what comes next, contractual obligations means your Fanzone man of the match, brought to you by iHeat, is our next Fanzone segment. Now get your comments in and get your votes in the live chat this evening. We can't wait to see these.
Don't bother.
I'll tell you what, the more obscure, the better. So, we've had the fans, we've had Lofty, we've had the ball boy or whatever so far this season. So tell us who gets it this week. Maybe the kit man, I don't know. Chris?
I'm going to talk about kit man round here.
Our assistant kit man.
And we can't give it to a Wigan player. I've already seen a
Arsgaard was good. Yeah.
Couple of comments.
Draw the line there, to be fair. Hang on. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. No. I refuse. I think the only one who showed any kind of modicum of passion or anything yesterday was McAtee, but he didn't do anything to influence the game.
No, read about like headless chicken, didn't he?
Yeah, but he got stuck in. Yeah, it reminds me of that. Funnily enough, and it's great to see him back on Twitter. The Penguin, the the Bart Simpson gif with the cake. At least you tried. Yeah, it's one of his favourites, and that was pretty much McAtee yesterday. At least you tried. Nah.
We'll take that. We'll take that as an answer. Colin, who gets yours?
I would say Philip Hayes for at least trying to put the music on the playlist for if we would have scored yesterday, because at least he had a little bit of thoughts about doing that. I mean, it didn't come to fruition, but let's give it to the guy on the mic. It's best I can come up with
that. Yeah. Max to make a couple of decent saves in the first half, but I mean, he's terrible on the ball.
That goal, was it? Colin, you mentioned it before. Sorry, just talking about Baxter. I've only seen it twice when it happened in one replay. And obviously it went through Jono's legs.
Yeah,
but
They look very slow to go down to it.
He was so slow at his front post.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know what. Obviously, I sit in the north stand, north upper, and I could see. I don't know whether you lot could see. I'm guessing Chris and Ben not, but they had the backup goalkeeper warming up Southwood for quite a good while at some point. So I don't know whether he was.
Well, he went down injured, didn't he?
Yeah, but a couple of times, so it wasn't just that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that when he went down. He warmed up a couple of times. So listen, I'm not making excuses for it because I've touched upon it already. I know it was awful.
Yeah. I thought Rando Williams was all right when he came on. Showed a bit of, he looked like he was trying to drive us forward. But I mean, to say he played well is a bit of a stretch. Yeah, no one.
Just when you do calls tomorrow, Ben, just do a blank start.
Let's go through the chat, shall we? Brad has given it to the steward who let him out early. Bradley, the bloke who won the header in East Stand lower.
Skills.
The Santas in the players' lounge afterwards.
Someone's
giving it to Jack Dearden. The steward in North Upper. Hugh has given it to the whole Bolton team. Macaulay's gone for the beer pourers. Howard has gone for the baby Jesus. Jake has gone for Doris the tea lady. And Josh has given it to the ball for only going in twice. Macaulay has gone lofty again. Brad, the sniffer dog's outside. I've had actually quite a lot of suggestions for a man of the match this week, but I think that rounds it off. And Brandon has rightly said it's a tight vote then. Let's see who gets the joys of doing the post for that tomorrow. And we'll hand over now to hopefully something that can cheer us up. However, I've got a feeling that I've not watched it yet. I don't think Callum's going to fancy our chances very much in our next fixture.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Get Stat On with the Stat Man. And this segment is, of course, sponsored by Jen Louise at Salmon. And you all know the line, so lob it in the chat. If you're buying a gaff, give her a bell. Anyway, let's forget last game. Hey, let's just move on, because I'm sure you're in a significant amount of pain, and that is understandable. You are playing... before I do start as well, I should say, I am a little bit ill, so you'll have to forgive me. But we power through, as they say. But no one's really bothered at it, let's be honest. So you're playing Wycombe on Friday. Friday the 20th of December. Last game before Christmas, so Merry Christmas. And probably a good time to forget about the footy. Hey, with how crap it has been this season. But anyway, Wycombe, they're mint. I'm sure you know that. They're top of the league. But their last 5 games hasn't been unbelievable. They've won 2, drawn 2, and lost 1. So, there's a bit of hope. Maybe not. But anyway, they are top of the league with a game. They played one more game than Birmingham, and they're 1 point behind. So, it's kind of a fake top of the league, but they're pretty good. However, they will be missing a big player for this game. Of course, Aaron Morley is on loan. I'm pretty sure he will be missing the game because of the league's rules. But he started 15 games in the league this season for them, so he's clearly quite an important player. So he will be a big miss, and maybe that shows he shouldn't be on loan, or maybe it just shows they've helped him develop and kick on. You will know another one of their players quite well. Caleb Taylor was, of course, on loan last season, and I would like to say I am a big fan of Caleb Taylor, and he is also quite a big player for them. So you'll be seeing him on Friday. Anyway, how good are Wycombe, I hear you ask? They scored 43 goals from 29 expected goals. So that's a bit of a joke, innit? But that equals 2.3 a game in the league. So, to put it bluntly, they're going to score, and they're going to score quite a few, because they're quite good. However, they aren't impeccable defensively because they've conceded 1.2 a game. So, you should score. Whether you will or not is an entirely different question. But you probably should score, but they're probably going to score more than you, to put it in simple terms. They don't press too high either, but don't think that's going to matter to the outcome of the game, to be honest. I know this is very depressing, gets that on, and it's not normally, but I am here to give you a little bit of hope. So let's move on to the screenshots. Screenshot 1 is on the screen now. This is from Wycombe's last game, and it's how they scored 2 of their goals. So we're going to look at this one first. And basically, number 20 has run through about 4 players, and he's found himself where you can see him on the screen now, putting a cross in to the back post, a little dinked one, because that is what Wycombe like to do, and they will do it at every single opportunity, basically. A cross from the half space, which is literally just the space in between the wing and the middle. So yeah, they love a cross from there to the back post, and the striker or forward, whoever it is, usually pulls himself towards the fullback because it's easier to win a header against a fullback than a centre-back, isn't it? Because they're normally not as big. So that's why they do it, and by God, does it work. And it definitely worked there because the fullback wasn't even looking. And yeah, easy header to make it 1-0. Screenshot 2 now. And you'll see that the cross for this is another goal in the game, and the cross is literally from the exact same place, just on the other side. So this guy's actually made an underlapping run. It's just like, it's self-explanatory, innit? It's just you make a run inside him rather than around the outside. So the guy's made that run, and he's found himself in the half space again, and he puts in another cross of the same fashion, little dink to the back post. And not going to show you because there's no point, but again, a guy comes flying in, heads it straight into the space. Keeper's got no chance, and defenders haven't got a chance really. Just those crosses are so good because the forwards got the momentum and the defenders got none. But so that's the key to stopping them, is don't let them get in the half space, which obviously isn't that simple. And so I would like to apologise for how depressing this Gets That On has been, and probably the entire podcast, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, enjoy the rest of the podcast. Have a good Christmas, because I don't think... Oh, no, I will see you after the post-match. I'll see you for the post-match review after Wycombe, probably. But have a good festive season, anyway. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Post-Wycombe could be a very interesting podcast indeed. But to cheer you all up, our post-Wycombe podcast will be our Christmas special. May as well tell you what we're doing, lift the mood a little bit. We've all done a Secret Santa on the podcast, and so we've all bought presents for each other. And for everyone appearing on the podcast, we'll have a nice little gift to unwrap from another member of the Fanzone podcast team. Now, judging by the conversations in the group chat and some of the things that I've seen floating around, I imagine some people have got some pretty interesting presents. Say the least. So there you have it. Make sure to tune in Sunday after the Wycombe game, same time as usual. Be there or be square. And we don't want to know about your presents to Colin, Brandon. You can keep them between you two here.
No, I'll put it in the chat. I'm intrigued.
Pegging blanket with 2 sprouts.
We'll try and lift the mood some more. And Cole, do you want to do your catch of the week?
Yeah, why not? Go on, BT. Oh, aye. Let's get Oh, aye. Let's pull some tweets up there.
Zoom in a bit, Colin, so we can have a look. So we can see.
I can't zoom in on that. Ben, you've got the power, son. You'll have to do that if you can.
HR/IT.
Listen, I'm going to talk you through. The vast majority of the people in this will have seen some of the banter that has been flying around on social media since yesterday's disgraceful performance against Wigan Athletic. A decent percentage of them have come from Wigan fans. And listen, it's all good us winding people up, but if you give it, you got to be able to take it, as they say. And you got to give them a little bit of kudos because they have pulled up some absolute corkers.
Are you on Mac there, Colin?
You what, mate?
Are you on Mac there?
I am, mate, yeah.
If you do that thing with your fingers on mouse pad and like pinch and like, yeah, what Chris is doing, if you do that on your trackpad, it should zoom in a little bit.
Go on,
Yeah.
here we go.
It's a screenshot, innit?
Oh,
so
he's you're not screen sharing, are you? It's just a screenshot.
it's
So
a screenshot.
yeah, well,
Get with the program, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll have to give you a visual description, a verbal description, as opposed to anything else. Like I said, you got to give them a little bit of you got to give them a little bit of kudos. They've been all over us, and fair play to them. No more so than the Penguin, Chris. Your mate's back.
Yeah, it's good to see him.
what
He's
guy?
pulled up some. He's done a hell of a video, hasn't he?
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's been my mentor and taught me many life lessons over the last couple of years. Leslie says that she's here, or we're here, for the one of the
Everybody
lady.
who's after Chris.
Good old Lisa.
What,
This
Lisa?
is what happens when you get popular and you become a bit of an icon, a bit of a sex symbol. Like I'm like the Lily Phillips of podcasts these days.
Yeah. So go on, Chris. I'll let you.
You're doing 100.
explain that.
You're doing 100 one day next week.
Yeah. 1,000 in February. After putting up the request for comments and topics for the fan focus, a lady decided to bare her breasts for
And the
me.
rest.
And the lady garden.
Well, you couldn't really see it, but you know, she tried to at least.
No. Like our groundsman, she's done a cracking job.
Beggars can't be choosers, Col.
Keeping it neat.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So I don't know. Is that a measure of the fact that I've made it now?
I think so.
It can only be that. It can only be that.
Unreal. So
I put it in the group. I put the actual picture in the group chat before, and young Callum hadn't seen it, and I don't think he'd ever seen
I
anything
don't
like
think
that
he
before
wants to see it.
in his life. Poor
Yeah.
sod.
But Lisa, thank you very much. She's a Bolton girl. Seemingly she's a MILF. Yeah. Cheers for that, Lisa. You
But there was
made
some
me-
superimposing going on though, Chris, weren't there?
Yeah, Pingu decided to put my face on her body. She's a startling image. I think you'll find it's quite harrowing. But yeah, definitely one for the video and not for Spotify. That.
Another one of my favourites was a Wigan fan. I assume it's a Wigan fan, or may actually be a Bolton fan. Actually, Joe Mulligan, home stadium, the brick, whatever it's called, and the training ground is the Tough Sheet Community Stadium. Crack at that. Fair play to him, because it's entirely accurate, isn't it? Let's be fair. Just on the Santa Claus dancing with the trombones or whatever they were playing. I've put that on because I found it quite interesting. Was that actually after the game or was it before the game? Because they were walking around the pitch before the game, weren't they? I can only assume it wasn't after the game.
I'm telling you, I'm sure that they were in the hospitality after the game. Remember the pitch before it, in the hospitality after it. It's worse than that when they had that Lady Gaga tribute act on. You remember that?
Yeah.
It's worse than
Welcome
that.
to the Phoenix Club. Pull over into paradise.
Oh my God.
Good God.
What on earth? Who thinks of these things?
That was quite amazing. But just on a more serious note, Central Wigan posted before the game. You could see how calm Wigan were looking and how scared Bolton were looking and feeling, should I say. George Johnson looked very worried, and rightly so too, as both goals played through his legs and on the way into the back of the net. Things you love to see. That was a bit of an observation, that actually, because I don't know whether any of you lads or anybody in the chat had seen that, but I watched that back and very accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wigan players did look pretty chill, to be fair.
I think that's what comes from. And I know you can't read everything into it. You can read bits into it, obviously. But I think that's what comes from a team that's allowed to express themselves, be themselves, be natural, and a team that is trying to be something that they're not. You know what I mean? Your mask slips, and like you say, I think that's more to do with how relaxed Wigan looks.
I think a lot of that comes from
three
you've been there
crosses
twice
into a
before.
box inside 3 minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On that, but you're just being yourselves, going out there, being passionate and enthusiastic about a derby game, and not trying to play football that you're not capable of playing.
Overcoached for
Just
the level.
a theory.
I think a lot of it comes from, obviously, I mean, I don't know how many of their squad were there for last season. Probably, I don't think that many, to be fair. But obviously, they know they're there with a big-ish away following from them that have been there 3 times and beat us. And the pressure was kind of off for them yesterday, wasn't it? It was the worst they've gone into a game. If they'd have gone into yesterday and lost 3-0 or whatever, they'd gone, whatever, we're in rubbish form. I know they would have been bothered, obviously, but there was no pressure on them yesterday, wasn't there?
No.
That's where it comes from. You kind of go in with the shackles off.
I think that's a fair
like that
point.
every season, isn't it? Regardless of the situation.
Yeah.
And Uncle Dave has put a little video up as well. I thought it was quite amusing. It was only a short one, but the video started off with Ian Evatt, subtitle saying, "Football tends to give you opportunities," which is one of his favourite sayings that pops up on a weekly basis. And obviously what transpired after that was what we all witnessed. So, yeah, they're the posts. I thought some of them were quite amusing. And I think we'll seamlessly transition into the overlay. Oh, just like that.
Lovely.
That was seamless.
Bolton. Chris, I'll hand over to you then for Fan Focus, shall we?
Yeah. Good evening and welcome to another instalment of your favourite slot, the Fan Focus. It's hard. It was easy when nobody posted out. Just drop into a couple of comments before we take a dive into. Johnny Wanderer, good evening, sir. Hi, Ian Evatt. Sorry, hi, Ever Out. Thanks. That's it. End of message. Yeah, I think it's pretty overriding now, isn't it? So we'll touch on a couple of bits. One that particularly interested me, which was from BWSC714, who is with us this evening. He's probably gone now. I'd lost interest at this point as well. His post says, serious question. Does anyone know? This we can throw it open. Does anyone know what our football identity is supposed to be? Hey mate, he's still here. Good on you. In previous season, when things haven't gone well, and I think this is something that you touched on, Ben, a little earlier. Yeah. When things haven't gone well, I've been able to see what Evatt was trying to do and bought into the process. However, this season, we look completely lost and have no team identity. We have managed to achieve some reasonable results despite poor performances. But when we lose comprehensively. He did actually post another stat, and it's like 0-2, 0-4, 0-5. There is a noticeable lack of understanding between the players too. And I can definitely see where this has come from.
I was literally, before Lord of the Darts put what he or she's put, I'm not too sure, I was thinking the same thing. We all know how much Ian Evatt ejaculates all over Mr. Pep Guardiola. Sorry, I know we're not that podcast, but I'm really frustrated with it all. But it's evident to see that
So frustrated. The first thing you think about is Ian ever ejaculating.
Well, all right. How much he loves.
Yeah.
And his style of play.
Made it obvious, hasn't he?
But he alludes to the fact that you need confidence to play the way we play. And clearly, Man City's players are lacking confidence, and they are like we are a B-Tech version or a Z-Tech version, if you want to call it that, of Man City. So maybe there's a little bit in that what Ian Evatt says in terms of the fact that we are bereft of confidence, and that points to the level of inconsistency in our performance. And we managed to get over the line against poor teams, scoring late goals or whatever it might be. But generally, because they are so low in confidence and they're not believing in either themselves or the philosophy, is the reason why we're coming up with so many poor results.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what BVFC 714 said about I've always, even when we've not played well and we've not got the result or whatever, I've seen what we're trying to do, and kind of believe that the process would.
I don't agree with that.
Be a success in the end.
Sorry.
So I'm sorry. I mean, before this season, before.
No. I mean, the confidence thing. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. They are low on confidence, but even when you take that out of the equation, just the way that we set up to play and what we try and achieve and what that kind of identity that we aim for isn't there. So it's not like it's failing. It's just not there. So obviously, if you're low on confidence, you're still trying it, but it's not quite coming off. It's not there. It's just not there. There's no, we were all used to play it round the back, play it across, then all of a sudden Santos and it a long diagonal to the wing back, and the wing back would go forward, or it'd be Dion high press. And for me yesterday, Dion's anonymity in that game just summed it up for me. Because even if we're low on confidence and even if we're struggling, he will always be there, as we've always called him, the wasp. He's always there. He's the sharp end of the press. He's always there. He's harrying. Just not there.
Yeah, and that's been quite a few times when he started the season, hasn't it? We talked about it a week ago. So when I said I'd rather start him on the bench, because every time he's been on the bench, he looked good when he's come on, and he's hardly ever looked good when we started this season, which is the complete opposite of what we're used to with Charles. Even when he's gone through a bad run of scoring, whatever, Charles, he's always been busy. He's always been, as you say, the wasp. He's always been in games. He's always been effective, even without being a goal scorer. But it's just not been there this season at all.
There's been a lot of criticism for Vixie yesterday, and you can't not criticise that performance because it was poor. However, I'll caveat that and say what opportunity is he going to get with balls which are literally lumped forward to him when he's got no ability in the air whatsoever. But the ball's just coming at him at height all the time. What's he expected to do? I mean, he's not exactly in the best form of his career. So when you start doing that, it's just going to make matters worse. So why are you doing it? It just seems stupid, and it's coming back to what BWFC 714 is saying about the whole identity thing. Last season, we had Vic and Dion up front. They played a certain way. If that didn't work and we were struggling, he'd do the same thing. He'd bring on Yondali Budvarsson and Cameron Jerome to try and play a different way. And now it's like he's playing that different way. It's like he's got it the wrong way round. He committed to the one up front of the two false tens, didn't it, at the start of the season, and then backtracked on it straight away. Yeah. So he's made his signings based on that particular shape and philosophy, and now he's backtracked, and the options that he's got aren't fit for purpose. That's it. Yeah. No, I can get on board with that. Yeah.
he's probably thinking to himself, I just need to get to January. They've obviously said that he's going to get backed in January, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And he obviously thinks that signings he's going to make in January can bring him more in line to what he's used to with the two up front.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Mm.
But I mean, you can entrust him with probably likely north of £1 million again, or whatever it might be, or it's unbelievable.
And then if you go back to two up front, which you'd assume one would be Charles, what happens to McAtee, Collins, Lolos, Mendes, Gomez? I'm agreeing with you, but I'm just saying it just seems like a lot of players that kind of go to waste, wouldn't it? So it's a sticky situation, isn't it?
You're right in what you're saying, Colin, that he has recruited for that particular purpose and that particular type of football.
Or he's going to try and recruit to give us that elusive plan B that people go on about. You know, that we can play that direct to, or we can play the 1 and 2 behind. Because like Ben just said, we've got players who can play that position, then positions that I don't know. They're obviously trying to scrape into the playoffs, which is obviously what we're going to be.
Yeah,
trying to achieve this summer.
It's a ludicrous thought.
It would be hilarious if we carried on like this, scraped sixth, and somehow won the playoffs, and Everton was still
like Oxford.
It would be hilarious, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because I still, if that happened, I still think the majority would still not want him here after anyway, even if we did go up somehow.
Well, historically speaking, the bottom end of the championship isn't good enough for this football club. So inevitably, what will happen is we'll start getting battered in the championship every week, and he'll get me called out again.
Like
this,
yeah.
But our expectations compared to Oxford's expectations are a completely different ballgame, and look what they've done to their manager. So
yeah.
The scrapping in the championship will only last for so long. They might get a season or two, but beyond that, naturally expectations will increase again, which as they should, really.
Yeah.
Which leads us on to the point that's been made by Finley _BWFC. Lots of good managers on the market at the moment who are the Fanzone's top 3 picks from. I know this is a hypothetical, but let's throw it out there. Schumacher, low. Gary O'Neill isn't going to come to Bolton, I'm afraid. I would absolutely adore that, but it ain't going to happen. Neither's Mark Robbins. I doubt Ted Robbins would come at the minute. Obviously, Des Buckingham is now on the market, and Colin's favourite, Skabala from Lincoln. An honourable mention, I think Brad has just put it in there, has put Neil Harris, who's obviously now left Millwall. For what it's worth, out of all those, obviously Gary O'Neill would be the pick, but that ain't going to happen. Now there's Mark Robbins, as I think we've already established. I like Neil Harris. I don't know. I quite like that. I think.
I mean, if we're not happy with Everett taking digs at the fans, he did call all the Millwall fans thickos the other week, so I don't know how that would go down. So,
yeah. Well,
I'd be surprised.
Yeah,
I don't think
he suggested Brett Almiros.
Yeah. Well, there's always what's his face in there?
Schumacher.
Ian Holloway.
Someone might come out and surprise me, but I'm not overly enthused by the list of out-of-work managers, to be fair. I mean, we're not going to get Matt Robbins. If we could, that'd be amazing. Gary O'Neill, I'm not even convinced he'd do an amazing job with. I don't know. Look, he's managed at a higher level, but I don't really know how much that means. I don't know. I would have took Ruben Sellers. He would have been my number one, but obviously he's gone now. Maybe, I don't know. Dave Challoner, he's not going to leave Stockport though. I don't know. It's tough. I'd probably someone out there. Maybe a foreign manager, sort of like Danny Roll or Marty Cifuentes.
This is what. This is what made me think of Neil Harris. Whatever he does in terms of calling out the fans. No, we don't want that because we've had enough of that. But from that perspective, and Radix Lex I posted just anybody who can set up and do the basics. That's very much what it is for me. Somebody who can reintroduce the fundamentals of what we're meant to be doing. Whether that's
somebody can let footballers be footballers.
Whether it be short term or what, I don't know. And then look at a development plan, and a modern manager, whatever it might be, I don't know. But something's got to change. Colin, what are your thoughts? Who do you want?
What are you thinking? Can I just chuck it out there? Mark said about Brian Barry Murphy. I would like that.
Yeah.
I don't think the majority of Bolton fans would, to be fair. I think it'd be similar football to what to Everton. I mean, he's from City football originally. And
it's St. George's Park textbook FA kind of.
Yeah. I think he'd be the one in a couple of years before we properly see it. Anyway, go on.
To answer your question, I'd like to see someone experienced who could galvanise us, a group of good players. Somebody who's seen it, done it, all that malarkey. I know Ben's got a different opinion on that type of manager. There's no guarantees, but Tony Mowbray is looking to get back into work.
I would love Tony Mowbray. Proven at a higher level, experienced, plays good football, knows how to get the best out of talented young players and talented players in general. Yeah. So for me, it'd be Tony Mowbray if we could possibly persuade him to drop a level. I mean, if his health issues are sorted and he wants to get back into football, he would probably
be a wonderful appointment for us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Him or of course, Mark Robins would be perfect. Again, I'm not sure whether he dropped to the level, but he's local lad, isn't he? And, great football club. The thing is, the vast majority of the managers that are out there, they walked the Den 61 to become our manager. I'm not being funny. There's only 92 jobs in the football league, and they're all out of work, and it's one of the best ones. It's one of the ones that historically has been at the higher echelons of English football for the majority of its time. So I think we'd have a pick of them, to be honest.
Yeah, be interesting to see.
25,000 people. I don't know. There wasn't 25,000 though. Whatever people want to say, blah blah blah. But tickets sold, 25,000 people, and only 3,000 from the club down the road who always beat us in the biggest game of the season. So north of 22,000 people in that stand yesterday. Managers have walked to this club.
I think this is a good point from Chris. We get bigger crowds in Coventry, so why wouldn't he? This was my argument a few weeks ago. I've since changed my mind, but and I think it's a big if, Chris, if he's being backed by the investors.
That's what it is.
They have ever. I think there needs to be, if there is a change managerially, I think there also needs to be a change at board level, in the sense that there needs to be a clear plan. I've gone through so many comments about Sharon this, Sharon that. We don't know what's going on there. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of what decisions they're discussing, blah, blah, blah. Do we think the board are actually considering sacking Everett, says BWFC 714? We don't know. Pointless.
I think it would be daft to think that they won't have a contingency plan in
Of
place.
course they will. They're a business.
Of course they will.
Yeah. It's all well and good sort of aiming comments at Sharon. And I can understand why, because one of these important decisions that she mentioned having to make needs to be made. But we don't know what is going on. We only get to see what they choose to show us. So we don't know what's going on in those board conversations, because it won't just be her. It will inevitably involve the Lucoc and the Swiss consortium and such like. There will be bigger conversations that we're not privy to. So we just need to be mindful of that, and it's pointless pointing any fingers at Sharon, because we don't know. You're speculating. We all are. We all would be. So I don't know. But what I'm saying is, if we do employ somebody of the ilk of Mark Robins, that kind of level, of Mowbray, even, I think that's a cracking show, by the way, that there needs to be a clear pathway from the board, the investors. Something that I've spoke about with a few people over the last few weeks is this bond. What's going on with that? There's £4.5 million to be repaid there. There's no mention of it. There's nothing. There's no press releases. There's no comments. No nothing. What's going on? There needs to be not too much, but there needs to be a level of transparency from the board. Otherwise, as Leslie says, the fans will slowly but surely start turning on her if she doesn't do anything. So, be interesting to get your thoughts on that in terms of where we go from here, from a big wider perspective.
There we have it.
It's utterly pointless putting somebody else in charge if there isn't a clear pathway. In my mind, anyway. So, say all you want about Sharon, but she was there when she needed us. I am not saying that she's not culpable in all this. No, I'm not. But what I am saying is we don't know. So why speculate about it?
Yeah, it's not just her decision, is it?
No, it's not just her decision.
There are a hell of a lot of more people involved.
Sorry, what's this one? Chris, again, absolutely pointless Sharon coming out saying anything because the Swiss have the upper hand when push comes to shove in making the final decisions.
That's the thing. I get people wanting communication, everything, but if she came out and said, "Oh, look, I'm backing him," and then a week later, look, we lose 5-0 at Wickham and he's gone, then that just undermines her, doesn't it? And I don't think having too much communication can be a thing. I've seen it multiple times where they come out and give them the vote of confidence, and then a few weeks later they're gone, and you're going, "Hang on, that doesn't look good, does it?" Or
the question for me as well, though, is what was the season's objectives?
Well, to go on.
Was it automatic promotion, or was it playoffs?
Well, I think everyone said that it was automatic, didn't they?
This season, everyone.
You said this season, though, they haven't been. This is the thing. Last season, they said that they're going to go for automatics. This season, it was a different approach. They've not actually mentioned about getting automatics. Listen, the amount of money that they spent, second in only behind Birmingham, that should be the objection. Of course it should. But it does beg the question, with us only being a matter of only a few points outside the playoffs, are they happy with that?
Maybe. Yeah.
Hence why no communication. Hence why, we're all losing our heads and they're not.
Yeah.
Well, it's a right old conundrum, isn't it? And we're 67 minutes in.
Yeah, indeed.
So there you go. But thank you for everybody who contributed. We were back up to full tilt again this week in terms of questions and points to raise. So thank you, everybody who contributed. There's a lot to be said, but at the end of the day, there's even more to be done because this needs to end. Thank you. Good night.
And a big shout out to all of you who joined us this evening, because you've been excellent. The contributions in the chat have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of new names flashing about the screen as well. So if you are joining us for the first time, then thank you very, very much. It is a pleasure to have you all with us. It's really, really appreciated. And until the next one, take care. You've been watching the Fanzone podcast. We'll be back for the preview show on Thursday, I believe.
How many have we got, Ben, over Christmas? How many pods?
In the next 21 days, you've got 11 podcasts coming your way. So
you might actually see Dan Sumner, because he is actually still on the team, believe it or not.
Believe it or not. Yeah. You've got one every other day. It averages out at. They're coming thick and fast.
You see Scotty Harfield more than Dan Sumner. What are you on about?
Yeah, on telly. Celtic and Rangers.
Busy.
Take care. You've been watching the Fanzone podcast. See you all in the next one.
Right.
Try.